Now, government has set up a task team to look into mandatory COVID-19 vaccination. This as new infections skyrocket and the recent discovery of the Omicron variant. Several companies as well as higher learning institutions are also planning to implement vaccine mandates next year. So let's get the view now of the taxi industry from Midday Mali from SANTACO in Gauteng. Mr. Mali, thank you for your time and good morning to you. That announcement by the president was just announced this past Sunday, a task team looking into mandatory vaccines. What is your view as SANTACO on this?
Good morning, Itu, and good morning to your viewers at home. Well, what we would say about the pronouncement by the president Sunday in terms of the mandatory vaccination, as the industry, we will say though that was a announcement by the president. We should remember that the president has all the backup on his side. He has all the doctors, he has all the scientists to advise the president about the vaccine, about this forthcoming wave in terms of the COVID-19. But as SANTACO, we would say we think that the president is looking to saving the lives of the South Africans, also maybe saving the economy of South Africa, also maybe looking into the space that we shouldn't lose more lives in the future about the COVID-19. Yes.
So with that being said, are you in support as SANTACO of the vaccines? Are you opposed, to the president's pronouncement? Where do you stand with this announcement?
Well, we would say we support the pronouncement of the president. We won't oppose it because, as earlier on I said, the government is resourced, is well informed in terms of how to avoid more chaos in the country. So therefore we support that. But what is quite important, the team that the government has established, they need also to touch all the stakeholders so that we are on board as well. We understand how it works, how is it going to work, where is it going to be implemented, at what levels, at what times. So therefore, we are on the schedule of government so that we understand. Right. Also, we want to be our commuters being saved from this pandemic.
With that being said, have you been in conversation or engagements with the Department of Transport? Because the understanding, especially of public transport commuters, after the president's announcement was that perhaps what this mandatory vaccine is saying is if you are unvaccinated and you are a public transport commuter, you run the risk of not being able to access or even use public transport such as taxis. So were you consulted? Are you aware that these are the consequences? And if you were engaging with the Department of Transport, what were those engagements like?
Well, what I would say, we were not engaged. We only hear when the president made a pronouncement. We were not engaged as an industry. We just hear when the pronouncement was made by the president. And also what we would say, we want to urge our government, let them consult us properly as an industry because we are ferrying number of commuters in our vehicles. We also employed a number of people in our business as taxi operators. So therefore we needed to be engaged so that we understand everything. We go hand in hand with the government.
So while we're waiting for that engagement to happen, Mr. Mali, between yourselves as SANTACO as well as government, as SANTACO, have you started putting measures in place to ensure how mandatory vaccines would actually be communicated to your commuters, how you would implement it, how you would encourage vaccines if that is your view as an organization? What is the conversation like in the boardroom of SANTACO at this point after that pronouncement by the president?
Well, what we would say in our boardroom as SANTACO Gauteng, we are looking into possible solutions to save our economy, to start with. Secondly, to save lives of the South Africans as a whole. Also, we're looking into our business as well because it has been adversely affected by the COVID-19. Look, when we go to these levels, they really affect us as an industry. We don't operate freely. We don't go into other provinces as freely as we thought. As soon as we go into level 4 or 5, there are restrictions that they prohibit us of making profit, of commuting, disadvantaging us a chance to ferry our passengers from point A to point B. So therefore, we're really looking into that space that we also need to check how our business is affected. Whereas at the moment, we don't get any support from government in terms of the finances or in terms of the subsidies.
Yeah. And with that being said, just looking into how COVID-19 has negatively impacted, the taxi industry, we know that these numbers in terms of infection rates have been increasing in Gauteng. Quite frankly, Gauteng has seen quite a huge number of infections compared to other provinces. Will you still continue carrying 100% of passengers in your taxis, or even considering lowering that number so that to obviously encourage social distancing in taxis and assist where you can in terms of lowering those infection numbers?
Look, firstly, let me say, since the COVID has started, as a taxi industry here in Gauteng, we are very much committed fighting or pushing back the pandemic. We sanitize our passengers, we disinfect our vehicles, so we make sure that even our drivers, they are very safe, even we carrying the sanitizer in our vehicles. So therefore, we are really trying to push back this pandemic back. But also we will be carrying, because we are not doing about 200 kilometers distances, most of our associations. But those who are doing long distances, at each and every hour where they are traveling, they are having sanitizers in their vehicles so that they can sanitize. You should remember that we are no longer fully operational on the ground with our vehicles. We operate some vehicles, they operate some other vehicles, they are off duty. Is then we disinfect our vehicles thoroughly and clean them and prepare them for their schedules to start in the following day or after a day that the vehicle has been scheduled to operate.
All right. Well, we leave it there, Mr. Midday Mali. Thank you so much for speaking to us.